Welcome back to the channel. From this video onwards we will be continuing the Tensura light novel chapters from anime. Feel free to subscribe the channel and watch out for the spoilers. So, now without wasting time, let's begin. Once we settled on the name octagram for ourselves, Misery and Rain, the green and blue-haired maids in Guy Crimson's service, prepared an extravagant meal for us all. They were decked out in dark red maids' outfits, and their kitchen skills, it turned out, were second to none. As Ramiris told me, the original purpose of the Walpurgus Council was to let demon lords hang out and swap information. As a vestige of this, perhaps, the space we were in featured a separate room, a sort of casual lounge, you could say. Attendance wasn't mandatory, and all the demon lords did their own thing. Some left immediately after the meeting ended, some stuck around long enough for dinner, and others whiled away the time by chatting in the lounge. Me, I went for the food. You don't get a chance like this every day, and honestly, considering how much more overpowered Guy was compared with the rest of us, I wanted to see what his diet was like. The resulting meal was more exquisitely delightful than I ever could have imagined. Each dish was an astounding new discovery, the best of its type in the whole world, and as I lingered over each one in reverie. Report. Component analysis complete. It is now possible to recreate the recipes: black tiger stew, grilled sage rooster, golden peach sherbet, and roast earthen sleep dragon steak. I stole all the recipes. Is that mean of me? It seemed kind of unfair, not that I really understood what made them work. Steal makes it sound illegal or something. This was just intelligence gathering. These recipes called for meat from monsters rated A or higher, which you don't exactly see walking into town every day. But once I had the right ingredients, I think I would know how to prepare them now. The feast was rounded out with a bountiful selection of fresh fruit. 6 of us were at the table, by the way: me, Guy, Milim, Ramiris, Dino, and DeGrul. Valentine and Leon had left long ago. I took a moment to admonish Milim for tricking me as she gorged herself. She was still playing dumb, but I needed to give her a taste of reality. Meanwhile, I had Caroline and Fry promise me that we'd all discuss the future at a later time. Once we cleaned up after the war, I figured I'd be consulted about the upcoming city rebuild work. This was going to be a brand new nation, one with Milim at its head, and I intended to approach those discussions so they benefited me as much as possible. Ramiris was still bugging me about moving to my hometown. I refused her point blank, of course, but she wasn't giving up. You could see it in her eyes. I figured Trainee would be nice enough to pacify her a bit for me, but I had the sneaking suspicion that Trainee loved spoiling Ramiris more than anything else. It seemed that was practically what she lived for, so I reminded myself not to expect much as I resolved to keep an eye on them. DeGrul and Veldora seemed to be hitting it off pretty well, and Guy and Dino were engaged in friendly conversation. I decided to offer all of them some of Tempest's world-famous brandy, distilled from our own wine. Part of my branding efforts, you might say. Spreading the word about how useful a nation we were would oil the gears for diplomacy later. That much is true whether you're dealing with a demon lord or your next-door neighbor. Not bad. Well, look at this. Hack. Cough, cough, cough. Man, that's got some bite. It was maybe a bit too much alcohol for Dino to handle, but Guy and DeGrul enjoyed it. So would you please not drink all of it first, Veldora? I had a pretty decent stockpile left in my stomach, but I didn't store it in there just so Veldora could guzzle it all. And Milim immediately grabbed at the brandy, too, of course. I didn't let her have any. You know she'd be an angry drunk. And considering how she tricked me, I had to put my foot down on this. And it's fine for me, Em? Ramiris, meanwhile, was already preciously cradling her glass, 3 sheets to the wind in the blink of an eye. I let the frantic Beretta and Trainee deal with her. This was actually good for me. If she stayed sober and undistracted tonight, there's every chance she would have tried following me back to Tempest. So things were in full swing before long at this feast, and I decided to take my leave before Ramiris woke up from her stupor. It was quite an ending to the Walpurgus Council, not at all what I expected, but I'm glad my worrying was all for naught in the end. It had been, to say the least, an eventful 24 hours. Walpurgus began at the stroke of midnight. By the time we wrapped it up, it was already early afternoon the next day. In a flash, I was back at Tempest. The trip over there was one thing, but with Dominate Space, the journey back was a snap. And unlike before, my nation hadn't fallen apart in my absence, spirits were high, everything worked fine, and I was tremendously relieved. All our forces had kept their high alert going, just as I ordered. They were all more refined now, contributing to safety on the streets more than ever. I had overlooked nothing. The town's security system, modeled after the police I was familiar with on Earth, seemed to be a decent success. As I observed all this, a thought struck my mind. You know, this country's defenses alone could take out a nation or two all by themselves, couldn't they? Nearly every soldier left on defense duty was the equivalent of a B rank, after all. Your garden variety magical or paranormal beast wouldn't dare lurk nearby. Overall, the rule of law and order had really taken hold around here. But that made me worry about monsters coming out of the city, potentially causing havoc somewhere else. It might be better, I thought, to check up on that. So I dragged Veldora and Cheyenne back to town, riding on the back of Ranga. The moment I entered the city, the local residents and patrolling soldiers immediately took a knee at the side of the road, forming a path for me to follow. It was all so expertly choreographed. I had no idea when they learned how to do it. What's up with that? I thought only to find Diablo approaching me from the other end of the path. He gave me a sincere smile, one brimming with joy, as he exchanged glances with Rigord. Welcome back, Sir Rimuru. It fills us with joy to hear of your induction into the octagram. I am so glad to see you back here safely. I appreciated that from Rigord and Diablo, yes, but, seriously, what's going on here? And how did you guys know I was crowned a demon lord? That had to be the first time anyone used the term octagram in this world, too. I should know, I thought of it myself. The questions just kept piling up. Wasn't Diablo supposed to be out conquering the kingdom of Farmus right now? Why was he here roping the entire town into doing this little dance number for me? Starting to feel a little ashamed. About all this, I finally decided to ask. It's simple, Sir Rimuru, the smiling Diablo replied. We had asked Lord Veldora to keep us updated. I squinted at Veldora. He immediately averted his eyes. Dude. Come on, man. I don't know what he's guilty of yet, but he's guilty of something. After I put the screws to him a little, Veldora quickly revealed the truth. It turns out that he agreed to play Tempest informant in exchange for 3 dessert dishes at the next meal, and he held up his end of the bargain, telling Diablo about everything that happened in the council. Now it made sense why they knew about me being a demon lord and about the octagram name we had adopted. Maybe I should go so far as to praise Diablo for his data-gathering skills. Even if a person was smart enough to consider paying off someone as powerful as Veldora, only a select few would dare attempt it. Of course, Veldora deserves a lot of credit for actually agreeing with that nonsense, but still, I like this kind of proactive behavior. If all parties involved were pleased, I saw no need to harp on it. Still. Veldora, do you even need to eat? What kind of nonsense is that, Rimuru? It's not a matter of needing to eat or not. I eat because I want to. You hardly need to eat, either, do you? Gah! He had a point. That's it for this video. Give a like and don't forget to comment. Meet you guys in the next video.